This episode of Noise of the Broke Boys is brought to you by tissue paper. Have you ever watched the movie Old Yeller in front of your friends and began to feel the fabric of your man or womanhood subtly crumble as you search for a way to blame your tears on freshly sliced onions? Or maybe you have no soul and you're actually cutting onions as the poor boy raised the rifle to Old Yeller's rabies-ridden face. Hey dancers, have you ever been in a dance battle and fell straight on your face? But it's cool because that's your style, but then the judges are old school and don't understand your teenage angst? Or what about that time you posted that video on social media of you almost hitting that dance move that everybody does, but the only person that liked it was your grandma? Well, I'm here to tell you that tissue paper is here for you. Tears in your eyes? My boy tissue paper has got your back. Snotty nose? Tissue to the rescue. Poopy booty? Tissue paper is in your corner, my dude. Hit up your nearest store and purchase some tissue paper for all your emergency needs. And now, on to the show. In today's episode, I sit down with someone I've literally known since birth. He is a hardworking b-boy that has dedicated much of his life to helping local communities with his dance classes and helping worldwide communities with his far-reaching popular YouTube channel aimed at teaching breaking over the internet. This guy happens to be my twin brother and has been a natural entrepreneur since he was a young kid. Please enjoy the episode with my brother Vincanity. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the brokest show on the internet. It's not even on the internet yet, but it's all good. Today, if you are watching the videos, you will be seeing double because today I have my twin brother VincanitTV here. Wow. In the flesh. So all the 12-year-olds out there that probably shouldn't be watching this should probably go do your homework or something. You will be fanboying and fangirling out right now. Woo! How are you doing, Vince?
I am doing great. I'm fanboying as we speak.
So, dude, a lot of people never recognize that me and you are brothers. Like, I think that's kind of funny. I mean, we don't look alike, but I think it's funny that they never recognize us. And do you know why that is, or do you have any idea why that is?
I don't know. It might just be because we don't look like, because they associate us as twins, but then we don't really look like we're like people think you're twins, you got to be identical. So
yeah,
like, oh, you're a little bit different. You're not twins.
Yeah, well, I guess like we hang around. Well, we hang around similar people. I don't know. Yeah, I guess we just have a lot of different interests outside of like hip hop and breaking and stuff. But I always think it's funny because to me it seems like if you see us breaking, you can probably put the pieces together and be like, those guys probably are related.
Maybe it's because you got a beard and a mustache.
Yeah, no, I know. But before I had that and long hair and stuff, I feel like you could probably
because before you had a beard and mustache, you had like long hair. So you're like me, but with a disguise on. If you had like glasses,
yeah, the freaking
nobody would know who you are.
The nose one with the glasses and the mustache.
Yeah, you're like a detective.
Oh yeah. But so like, but in terms of like breaking styles, I feel like you could probably put the pieces together because what I always tell people is like, me and you have kind of the same moves, but we just do them differently. And I think that's probably because we learned from the same people and had the same kind of upbringing. I mean, like, I feel like Tet is like one of our good friends and mentors.
Yeah.
And he had a style that, I don't know, that we both like were inspired by. So I feel like we got a lot of stuff from that guy and kind of evolved them differently. But if you put the pieces together, we have like similar.
I think the thing that's interesting though is like even though we learn from the same people, like we don't really break alike.
Yeah.
But like I've met a couple other people that like break together and they break exactly the same.
Yeah,
like,
that's
how did that happen?
Yeah, that's
who told you could do that?
Yeah, no, those are the real twins. Except they're sometimes not twins; they're just a whole crew.
Yeah,
or it's just
like who told your whole crew to break alike?
And then also dress the same, and then also look the same, and also have the same moves.
Yeah.
and you're in different countries. Oh wait, that's just a biter.
Yeah, crews be biting not just like other people's moves, but their own cruise moves.
Yeah, no, that's rampant in the community. Today we're over here drinking coffee. This coffee is pretty good. It's like a barrel aged. What is it? Whiskey
Barrel aged coffee.
Yeah, it's like you're drinking it in the morning. It tastes like you're drinking whiskey in the morning. So it feels like I'm being a bad boy right now.
Nah, they like stick it. They like take a whiskey barrel and then they put actual whiskey in it to like season it, like to soak the wood basically, and then they just stick the raw beans in there for I think like a month or so, and then they roast it, so it has like whiskey essence in it. Yeah, but it's not like it's soaking in actual whiskey. Yeah. It's just the essence.
And they give you these shitty straws.
Oh yeah,
they're like paper. Like this crap is terrible. Like it's just falling. Like it seriously lasted for like 10 seconds.
That straw is meant for like downing a drink.
Yeah, no, it's
less
crazy.
than 10 minutes.
Yeah, luckily I got this metal one.
Oh yeah, shout out to sustainability.
Sustainability. So, I threw away my paper straw, but there's like this plastic cup. So I don't know. Sustainability. Shout out to you. Anyways, okay, so let's get into like what I actually want to talk to you about, which is like, because you've been teaching breaking for a long time. How long do you think that's been?
I started in 2005, so it's been like 15 years now.
Dang.
And I think like that's when I officially started doing it like professionally, like paying my rent and bills with it. But before that, like I used to sub classes for people. Like Dietrich's was actually the first person that was like asking me to sub his classes, and I'd go to this studio and sub his classes. But and that kind of like got me like thinking in the right direction. But in 2005, that's when I actually started like doing it full time and quitting my other jobs that I was doing and just 100% focusing on teaching.
And what made you? What I guess drew you into teaching?
Well, originally it was because like at the time that was when we were like competing like every weekend like doing like traveling for competitions and like whether it was traveling the Bay Area or traveling to other states or other countries. And I was just like, man, how could I find a job or create a job that could support me and also be flexible enough for me to like go do something on the weekend? Because the other job, I was working at like what's it called? An old people home.
Yeah,
and at the old people home, like there was no flexibility. Like you pretty much, like it was a family run business. So like the family members got all the like good days and the good days off. And then like everybody else got the crappy shifts and like all the junk. Like I was supposed to be a dishwasher, but I ended up being like a dishwasher, a line, like a prep cook, like server, the trash man. Like they gave me all the crappy jobs. And so when I got offered a job to like teach dance in like schools, I was like, I'm out of here.
Did you ever have to like wipe an old person's ass or something?
No, but I had to like, I remember like I had to serve. Main thing I did was serve food and like clean their dishes and stuff. But when they started making me take out the trash, I remember like some of these old people would have like literally a trash bag full of alcohol. I'm like, and I pick the trash up every week. I'm like, y'all drink that much alcohol in 1 week?
Dude, what the heck? I mean,
maybe they're in there because they have alcohol problems.
You know what I've thought about though is like those old people homes are like just an old people dorm for like a college dorm room, because it's like you got your cafeteria there, you get all your food, you just don't have any classes now.
Yeah,
like it's a dorm room without class. Well, yeah, they're classes, but they can ditch them, and they're just like, Edna just ditched her, her like water weightlifting class or whatever, her pool aerobics.
They
class.
have like wheelchair yoga.
yeah, no, it's for real. They'll do that, But it's not a big deal if they're ditching the class because it's
Yeah.
like, oh, whatever, you paid us for this.
I remember there was this one dude who was like, he was super grumpy like all the time, and like he'd always be, no matter what you give him, he'd be like upset about it. And one day this fool got a electric one of those scooter things.
Oh yeah.
And so then he comes down this, like the cafeteria, there's like a ramp that goes into it. So he comes down the ramp like full speed on it, and we were like setting up soup for them to eat on all the tables, and this fool tries to hit the brake, but it's too late. So he slams into the table, and all the tables go dum, 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 and like all the soup is all over the floor.
Dang.
And then he just like he just turns around and leaves.
He
like,
just bounced.
This fool was like, he was like way too much confidence because he got this scooter.
Oh shit!
And like tore up the whole cafeteria and then bounced.
He didn't say anything?
No, he was just, I think he was like embarrassed, but this fool just like
he just booked it in there, hit it, and his face turned red and was like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, people didn't know who he was. And also that his cart wasn't driving like 5 miles an hour and someone couldn't just like walk and catch him.
Because before he had a wheelchair and then like someone had to like scoot him up the ramp.
Yeah.
And so then, and like, I remember like he's the only one who would, like some people you help them up the ramp and they'll give you like $20. This fool, like, not that anyone was expecting money, but he would just be like ungrateful that you just helped him. And he's a big guy. So then he got the scooter and he got all this extra confidence. I'm like,
oh, man. Well, then, hey.
But yeah, people like that. That's why I left helping old people to helping young kids.
Yeah, no shade to old people, but that's hella funny. So, anyway, so like, so once you started teaching, eventually you got into putting your lessons online as like YouTube videos and stuff. Like, what was the inspiration for that, or where did you get the foresight that that's where the industry was kind of heading?
Well, I think like for the longest time I had the idea because the originally just there's so much bad content out there.
Yeah.
And like I was like, man, like it was literally like kids that had no teaching experience. Like when you watch somebody teach, you could tell if they know what they're doing or they're just like just saying random stuff like, "Hey, let's do an air chair. Let's just stick our arm here and we're doing an air chair." Right? There you go.
Step
there
one,
you guys go.
Arm out. Step 2 here. Step 3 flying.
Yeah. It was like some bogus like tons of bogus material. So I kind of was like I was motivated already to like do something, but I didn't have I wasn't in the right place to do it. I didn't have equipment. I didn't know how to film. I didn't know how to do anything. Yeah. So it actually got to a point where I was like started getting into video and photography just to like film dancing, just to like film our own crew stuff and just so we had that. So I had the equipment, and then the same time, like one of the biggest struggles for dance teachers or just teaching artists in general is sustainability, and being able to have like consistent work is always an issue. So it was actually like during like a time when budget cuts were getting like chopped up. It was during the housing market crash. That housing
like
market
2008 or 2007.
Around there, housing market crash. People were losing their jobs, and then that eventually got to like public education. So most of my classes at that point were in schools. Actually, 100% of my classes were in schools at that point. Yeah. So all my classes were getting cut. Teachers were getting laid off. Schools were getting shut down. So it was pretty bad. Like there was like, if you could imagine, like at that point, every class had about 35 kids in it, elementary school. And say like this school right here, it gets shut down. All those kids got pushed into the neighboring school. So now each school now has literally like 50 kids. Kids are sitting on the floor. They don't have a seat.
Seriously?
So
the hell?
It was pretty terrible. And so like the last thing on their mind was like, oh, let's have a dance class. So
yeah,
literally all my classes got cut. So I was like, man, how could I like continue to teach and like share material with these kids? So I started actually making tutorials, like just a beginner course. Like I did like basic top rocks, footwork, freeze. And I made it I would just send it to the teachers, like, here, just share it with the kids so they have something to learn. And like, I want to say like within a week, I started getting like random emails from kids from India. And like from like Indonesia. And I was just like, where are these? Like, I didn't even know kids break in Indonesia. So I continued to do it for for the next couple months. And like, literally my channel went from like, I think a couple hundred subscribers to like I think like it was like 30,000 within a couple months. And
seriously?
So
dang.
It grew pretty fast. And I think it was just because like at that time, like I said, like there was a lot of bad material out there and people that had no idea like how to teach. Like they had no approach. And at that time I was like, most of my classes at that time too were teaching special needs kids. So my approach was very I guess like it's from a very basic standpoint. Like I have no idea what I'm doing to like, oh, I could do a freeze now. I could stand on my head now. So it's just like trying to like going from like kind of like trying to introduce it. And one of the goals too was trying to throw in like the legends, like B-boy legends in there. So, cause a lot of the people online, the only people they see is like Red Bull BC1, or they see like, you know, somebody's teaching this video, or someone has their trailer online and it's super popular, but they're like garbage. So like, I was like, man, I gotta change that. So
you gotta get the real like people out there.
So I started like reaching out to like OGs that I look up to. And I'm like, here, this is who I look up to. You guys should do your research on this person and like have them share, you know, some of their knowledge with them. So it's kind of like, I figured like if this is the internet age, like where people are going to get their material, it might as well be good material.
Yeah, that's a little bit of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast actually, is because I want to give a voice to the people that I've always respected that don't always get the clout that they deserve, and you know, maybe are pretty silent in the scene, but they deserve to be heard because they're very knowledgeable and highly respected by people of our generation.
And I think that's the tough thing too, because people in the scene tend to get like lost and forgotten unless the present people are like preserving them.
For sure.
Because a lot of them like they don't care about like fame. They're just kind of like, they're just, you know, they do what they do, and they are, if someone respects them, they respect them, but they don't really care. But like it gets to a point where people just don't know who they are anymore. And so I was like, man, I need to like make sure these kids that are learning like know where this stuff comes from. Like you're doing this move, like show respect to like who created or who influenced the style, or like who's the reason why there was even breaking in this city. So I think that's probably especially helpful for people who don't even live in this country or a country where breaking was popular. Like, you know, like India, for example, or Indonesia. It's like they first saw breaking probably on the internet, which at that point, breaking had already been around for a solid 30 years probably. Right.
And so they don't know anything that came before the internet unless somebody put it online and literally told them this is like what we all looked at. And so I guess hearing the backstory, you know, from other people, I think that's helpful to those guys.
Yeah, and I think at that point there was literally like some kid in like, I think he was like in high school or middle school, and like saying, "Oh, I invented this move," and I was like, "You did not invent that move. Like, who are you? Who do you think you are?" Like, So then to like, I'm not someone who I started breaking in 2000, year 2000. So I'm not someone to even speak on like what happened in the 90s or what happened in the 80s or even the 70s. So I feel like putting on people that actually were there to share their story, to me, that's much stronger, more powerful than me just like regurgitating something that I heard. That was the main that was another big reason why I wanted to just put good information out there, put quality sources out there.
So going back to what we were talking about with how your channel kind of blew up in other countries. Did you foresee that happening?
Not really, because I mean, my whole intention was just to like have like support for my current students, and then when it started getting bigger, like I was kind of like I was expecting like the countries that you see breaking in, which was like Japan, Korea, France, Germany, US. But there were so many, like what I didn't expect was all these random places that I've never heard of that actually have a breaking scene.
Yeah.
So like one that was actually pretty cool was Trinidad. I didn't even know what Trinidad was. I just knew
Trinidad
like,
James.
Yeah, Trinidad. And actually at that point, Trinidad James wasn't even out. So like, so once Trinidad James came out, I was like, oh, Trinidad. I get it now.
Yeah. With Trinidad, you ended up going out there to teach like workshops for a while, right? Yeah.
So it was like when I heard about Trinidad, one of the guys that reached out to me, he actually eventually flew me out to Trinidad, and we did I did workshops out there, and we just kind of connect with the scene, and I helped them at a competition, I judged a competition out there. So it was kind of cool to just see like this emerging scene, like their scene. Honestly, like when I was out there a couple years ago, it felt like Sacramento or Stockton back in like the early 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Because it's so like secluded. Like it didn't like you didn't see them break like I don't know what's popular right now. They just kind of like did their own thing. A lot of them were still like they're still like focusing on like crazy tricks.
Oh, okay.
Right, which was cool because back in early 2000, people were just doing crazy tricks. Yeah, like a lot of them are like on blow-ups, which was cool because like not everybody does blow-ups anymore. So.
Yeah, and Trinidad is like an island off the coast of like northern Brazil, right?
Yeah, it's like it's right
South
across
America.
like if you're in Venezuela, it's like right across the ocean from there.
Okay, yeah.
Like right above Venezuela.
Okay.
So they have a lot of people from Venezuela that live there also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so when you were there, all I'm picturing is like people with like gold on their wrist, gold on my chain,
I don't know. When I went there, I didn't know what to expect too, but I didn't because I was like, I was like, do they speak English there? I don't know. But then when I went there, it was kind of a culture shock because it's like literally a blend of a bunch of cultures. Like in Trinidad, like basically has a mixture of people of African descent, people of Indian descent, Chinese descent, and then also like native Trinidad.
Oh, okay.
People Trinidad. I don't know if it's Trinidadian, but it was kind of like it's like a blend of all these cultures. Like I think Chinese and Indian people came there to harvest sugarcane. Like when the sugarcane movement first came out, they moved there, and then also I think African American slaves were actually like moved there after the slave trade ended.
So they moved from America, like from U.S. down there?
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck?
So the cooking there, like it's kind of like a mixture of like Southern cooking, Indian cooking.
That's crazy.
And there's even like a slight Chinese influence. So their food there is crazy. It's such a blend of all these things. It's like soul food meets Indian meets Chinese.
I guess that's a perfect place for hip hop to breed because that's really what hip hop is a blend of everything.
Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. So in Trinidad was the hip hop what was the hip hop scene looking like? What did they have like their own rappers and DJs and stuff, or was that still like an underground kind of culture, or did they know about American music? And
I didn't really see too much of it, but yeah, I think they're they're definitely influenced by like American music, and it actually like Nicki Minaj is from Trinidad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think one of the I didn't even. Tight. They're telling me like she used to like slang CDs out there like back in the day.
Dang.
And then now she's like super famous, so
she's now someone's slanging her CDs.
Yeah, someone else is slanging her CDs.
That's tight.
But yeah, I didn't really see like MC. Like I mainly just saw the b-boy scene.
Yeah.
And there was like some DJs at the jam I went to, but that was about it.
Oh, so they had jams?
Yeah.
Okay, so they were putting on events and everything. So it was like a slowly growing scene.
Yeah.
In I guess the infancy of
But
like what it is.
it's still like it's interesting because like although it's a small island, like to get to from one side of the island to the other, it's not like an easy drive. It's like a couple hours. So
is there like mountains in between?
Yeah, there's like mountains. It's really like beautiful country, but because of that, like you see different communities. Like I'm in the South Trinidad, I'm North Trinidad, so.
Was there any other countries you went out to do workshops for? I think you said you.
I went to Cambodia, which was really cool. I was in Vietnam, not to specifically teach workshops, but I did teach a little bit out there. But Cambodia was actually pretty dope because their scene, it's kind of like the guy who, like, I don't know if breaking existed before this, but there's this guy who's actually from Long Beach who got deported out to Cambodia, which is kind of crazy because he's like one of the people who's born in Cambodia but immigrated here, and then he got deported. Like he got into some trouble, he got deported, but when he moved back, it's like he doesn't know anybody there. He doesn't speak the language fluently. Like so that's what happens to a lot of people who get like deported.
Like they came here when they were really young, and so all they know is this,
and their whole family lives here.
Yeah,
and so they get deported, and it's kind of like you're like homeless pretty much.
Yeah, that sucks a lot.
So, but what's crazy is that guy braked, so he started like teaching breaking to just a lot of homeless kids or kids that were just on the street, and he kind of like birthed a little scene in his city.
Yeah. Is he the dude that created Tiny Toons Crew?
Yeah, okay. Tiny Toons. Yeah, shout out to Tiny Toons.
Yeah, Tiny Toons Crew.
They're doing good things in Cambodia. They have a full hip hop program. They have like an MC program. They make beats. They have I think they have DJ classes, and they also teach kids like math and English. So it's like legit like
that's tight.
Helping the community.
Dang.
Because a lot of the kids out there, like from what they told me, they don't get the opportunity to go to school. Like there's no like
they don't have like a public school system out there or something.
I think there's public school, but I think it's like it still costs money. Like it's still like expensive to the point where a lot of kids just can't afford it. So that program takes kids that literally don't get any education and educates them, and also gives them hip hop programs. So
that's tight.
It's pretty dope. Like they do a lot of good stuff like in their community.
How do they fund it?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I know they get donors, but I'm not sure. They might get grants. I'm not really sure. But they literally have like a little taxi. They go out in the community and they get the kids. They bring them to Tiny Toons, teach them.
Oh dang!
And then they bring them back home. So it's like full spectrum.
They got the hip hop tuk tuk.
Yeah, they got the hip hop tuk tuk.
That's tight. Yeah, that's really dope. I'll have to reach out to them. What's his name?
KK.
KK. Okay,
yeah, he's legit. Like him and there's a bunch of other people that work there. They do a lot of good things out there, and they like some of those kids got like opportunities to like perform for like big performances and like be in music videos, and I think like some of the guys that got into DJing were now DJ like at events and stuff. So it's pretty cool that they're like harvesting talent.
Yeah.
And education.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, that's definitely a thing that we all need and kids need. And it's good that you are like helping that along, and not only here in LA, but also out all over the world, really. Yeah. And so through all that, I imagine you come across some really cool stories. And so what I wanted to ask you is like, what's the most inspiring thing you've seen in one of your classes, whether it's in person or, at a workshop somewhere or online or whatever?
it's hard to say. I mean, I guess if it's online, there's been like a couple people recently that reached out to me that were just like saying thank you. And there's actually two people. One's actually here in LA, and the other person is in India. And they're like, hey, I just want to say thank you. I started learning from your channel in like, I think they said like 2012 or something. And they're like, now I'm a professional performer. I own my own dance studio.
Oh,
and
dang.
I was like, oh, dang. Like, it wasn't even like I like directly did anything, but like I somehow indirectly helped them. So I was like, that's kind of crazy.
That's tight. So they kind of like, you put them on their first step, and they took the next steps towards like doing it, and now they're succeeding and, you know, thriving in the hip hop community.
Yeah. And then even like there's some jams that we went to that like the person that was literally like in the finals was like, hey, I got into breaking because of you. And they're from like some other country, and I'm like, that's freaking crazy. Like, dang. And now they're winning jams. And it's like, all right, that's dope.
Has anyone ever come up to you and been like, I want to battle you now?
Oh yeah, some crazy dude in Alhambra. Like I was just walking down the street, and he's like, "Hey, BBoy Vincanity." I was like, "Yo, what's up, man?" He's like, "I want to battle you." I was like, "Man, I just ate. I ain't trying to battle you on the freaking concrete next to like cars driving by. I'm not risking my life to battle you."
There's like doo-doo on the streets.
Yeah, like. Trying to be sanitary here.
Yeah, come on, man. We can't be getting infections and stuff.
Yeah. But I think like as far as like inspiring things for me personally, like I think those are really cool. But for what I do like in the community, I definitely see like I work with mainly low income kids or in low income neighborhoods. So you definitely see a lot of kids that have had some issues, had some trauma, so it's always cool to see that breaking is somehow like being a positive influence in their life. Yeah. This past year, I worked at a continuation school where pretty much all the kids are in the same group home. So meaning they all have no like parental like support at all or figures, and they all kind of have like trust issues. So, like, you walk in there, and they're just like, yo, who's this guy? Like, they'll try to size you up and all this stuff. So, to kind of see, like, kids like that, like, let their guard down and just, like, enjoy themselves for a moment, like, that's inspiring for me. Like, seeing kids that, like, these kids are, like, literally, a lot of them, you'll see them get arrested on the daily for doing something. And, like, I've seen kids, like, they're in my class, they get out of the class, and then... man, like something happened and I see them in handcuffs. But to see them go from that, like getting in that type of trouble with the cops to like, I'm just breaking, I'm doing footwork, I'm having fun, I'm battling you, the guy that I was about to fight, now we're battling. To see that change, like even though it's a small step, like at the same time, it's pretty big, like mentally, like to be able to let your guard down and just have fun. Yeah. I think that's huge. And to see that kind of like transformation like happen over and over and over, that's what inspires me. Because it's like you hear about that cliche like, oh, breaking saved my life, right? But then when you see it happen like live in person, it's a different story.
Yeah. It's like you see it and you believe it now. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Do you see some of that translate like outside of their life, like because they're opening up to the dancing and stuff, and now they're opening up more to like other people? Like, you know, I imagine that there's probably a lot of animosity between the kids in the group home and like maybe the people that like run the group home. Do you see them opening up more to them and stuff, and like maybe even letting in maybe some estranged family members or whatever to their life?
That's hard to say because I don't really see that side. I just see the side I see is just simply in class. But at the same time, it's kind of like a lot of kids that have been through like some type of trauma, they have like trust issues. And so like when they suddenly have a figure in their life that's like a positive influence and like, oh, I could trust this person. I think it changes something when you're able to trust somebody, like it something changes in your mind. And like, so you're your whole mentality is a little bit different. But in schools, in the schools I teach at, definitely see changes. Like you'll see kids that are like always being sent to the office now, like participating, like instead of being a menace to class, now they're like helping people in class. So I think a lot of things, like a lot of like issues that people have with kids, a lot of times it's like they don't understand the kids. Like I had teachers that were like, I would consider them like bad teachers. Like I've had teachers that were just like, they just like a kid that's acting up, they just send them in the office and like call it a day, or like kick them out of class, kick them out of school. And like, they don't understand that maybe this kid's like going through something.
Yeah. You don't see the full story.
Yeah. So shout out to all the good teachers that understand their kids and like are actually like doing a job to like, you know, keep them in school versus kicking them out.
I honestly think teachers are the most important like job out there, because like, I mean, doctors are important and stuff, obviously, to keep people healthy, but like teachers are what keep it. I feel like they're the ones that keep everyone together and like keeping the healthy people, making other people healthy. You know what I mean? Like it's inspiring a healthy culture to thrive, you know. And it's like you call the doctor when you're sick, which is good, but like what do you do when you're healthy but you also want to keep the rest of your community healthy? I think you go to a teacher. And
also like I think just like a good teacher could kind of like set a kid on the right path too, because like there's a lot of teachers, and everybody probably has had a bad teacher at some point in their life that made them like hate something. Yeah. Right. And I think that's like not the teacher's job. Their job is to like get you to enjoy something. So like if all these teachers in your life are making you hate school, then you're going to hate school. You're not going to want to learn anything.
No, for sure.
So you get like, I've met kids that are like in like 6th grade or even middle school that still can't read. Yeah. And it's yo, somebody failed these kids. Like whether it was their parents, the teachers, somebody failed these kids. Yeah. And so I think that's like why we need good teachers. Teachers that'll be like, hey, this kid needs help. Like, let's not just push him to the side. Let's not just push him into some other special class. Let's help him out. Yeah, I think that what they do is like with the regular curriculum, they go, okay, this is what resonates with most kids. Let's say 80% of them. So we're going to teach them this way. And then the ones that don't really resonate with this, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Let's just throw them in some weird program that doesn't help them. And like, hopefully they'll figure it out somewhere, but most likely they're not. And meanwhile, that's taken over the course of a couple years, and during that time, they're like, I hate school. They're going from school was okay to like, I want to get the hell out of here and probably drop out or whatever, you know? And so it's like a teacher can help and also hurt. So it's good to have, it's important to have the good teachers there that will go out of their way to really like, get those students the help they need. I think that's also why the Breakin programs and just art programs help kids in schools, because like imagine if there's absolutely nothing in school that you enjoy doing. You just dread like school altogether, and all of a sudden now there's this dance class that you love, like you look forward to it. You're gonna succeed in you're gonna at least put effort into your other stuff so that you could take that class. Yeah. So I think just having that there, it kind of changes kids' whole like attitude towards school, because now it's like, oh, this is actually, there's something fun. Like I'm making friends versus before, like, I was pushing everybody away. Like a lot of people think of bullying as like just bad kids, but a lot of times kids that are bullies are like kids that are like, they're missing something in their life.
I feel like they're getting bullied somewhere in their life by, whether it's like their parents or something is happening in their life. And they're like, well, I got to prove myself that I'm better than that. And then they bully other people. Yeah. Which they got to understand that that's not the way to go. But if no one's teaching them there, if all they're getting is bullied all over the place, they're never gonna learn.
Yeah, there was a school that like I taught at that had crazy bullying. Like you literally see fights break out, and the teacher's like, "Hey, stop that," and then they go back to playing.
Dang.
But like those kids were all in my classes, so like there were times where when we were learning battling, that the teacher's like, "Hey, don't let that kid compete against this kid because they'll get in a fight," and I'm like, "We'll see."
Yeah.
And like, but what you saw is like these bully kids would like take initiative and they'd be like the leaders.
Yeah.
So it kind of like it was almost like no one ever gave them a chance, and then now they're like, instead of like bullying kids around, they're like actually leading the fellow classmates. So
yeah, so maybe there's some kind of like leadership skill that they never tapped into that maybe like creative endeavors are like helping them tap into.
Yeah, and I think it's also just like some kids never get a chance to like express that part of their mind.
Yeah, no, I do think a lot of education nowadays, they stray away from the creatives and they go more towards the academics. I mean, obviously, I think academics is important, but I think creativity is just as important because it's just such a fundamental human thing to have.
Yeah,
and I think there's been a lot of study around the creative mindset and how important it is to development of kids in particular.
Yeah. I think there was like there's a study, I don't know where to find this study at. One of my friends told me, but there's a study that was showing how like learning music actually aids in learning how to count, learning how to read, because it has that rhythmic fashion.
Oh yeah.
So
that makes sense.
And then when you add that with the social aspect of art and music and dance, it takes all that like learning to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
Because I think that's I don't know if you've noticed this, but with like some kids that are like homeschooled, sometimes they end up hella weird.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's probably because there's a piece of being a kid that's taken away from them a little bit, which is like the social aspect and like the playful aspect. Because I mean, not that they don't play and don't socialize, but it's like when you're at school, you're with all these different kids and you socialize with them all the time, and you're like there, to play around a little bit. And so it's like, but as a homeschool kid, I don't think you really get that.
Yeah, no offense to homeschool kids, but like when like you not I mean, we were both like awkward kids when we were younger, but like when you can't like actually start a conversation with somebody, introduce yourself, when you can't like go to somewhere and order a pizza or order a burger, or order a cookie, whatever you are, like there's definitely like something missing. And I think that social aspect, it helps kids like so much. So I think that's another reason why the breaking programs help kids a lot too, because now they're forced to like interact with each other.
Yeah.
And they actually are learning like social skills. And so I think for me too, like when I got into breaking, breaking kind of taught me social skills. Mm-hmm. It's like when you talk to somebody, you look at them, or you're like interacting with them. When you're battling somebody, you have to interact with them.
You do the same thing.
Yeah, you can't just like battle like and do nothing. It's gonna be a boring battle.
Yeah. No.
That's probably why maybe all these like homeschool B-boys can't battle. They can't socialize.
Oh yeah, the guys that are like on Instagram or whatever, and they throw some crazy combo, and then they go to the battle, and then they just immediately fall on their face, and you're like, oh, what happened to that guy?
Not even that, but like I don't know. There's like you see battles and like there's no interaction. Just someone does some crazy move, and you're like, oh, that's cool. The next person goes, oh, that's a crazy move, but that's cool. But there's no connection. Like I think when you lose that connection in a battle, it's like it's nothing. Right? It's boring. It's like you were talking to a wall, and then the next person came out and they started talking to a wall. It's like there's no discussion. So
yeah. No, I think that interaction is important.
So don't be a homeschool B-boy.
Don't be a homeschool.
Be a public school interactive B-boy.
Yeah. Why do you think that is in breaking? I mean, because I don't think that they're necessarily homeschooled, but I have a feeling it has something to do with social media.
Yeah, well, I think it's just this generation Yeah, this is the like anti-social social media generation.
Yeah, because
Like-
the way I look at it is like when me and you started breaking, the only place you can see breaking is at an event.
Yeah.
And like maybe if you had a VHS tape or whatever that your friend gave you or whatever, but after watching it a couple times, you're like, I don't want to watch this crap anymore. I want to go see something live, or I want to see something else. And the only place to do that is at a practice or at a jam.
Yeah.
And so you had to go there, socialize with these people, battle them. I mean, most likely you're going to battle somebody there.
Yeah.
And
especially
then,
like you walk into a practice spot and nobody knows you. They're like, yo, who's this guy?
Yeah,
it's all
for
battle him.
reals.
Like when we walked into Washington Center when we were like 15, like everybody battled.
yeah, they're just, they
Like-
look at you and like, hey, I don't know these guys. And then it's like, let's see what they got. And then they
Yeah.
just battle. And it's not necessarily like some kind of turf war, but it's just like,
It's like trust.
yeah, exactly.
It's like, I don't trust this fool. Can he get down? All right, he can.
Yeah, and then they see that you got skills and that you're not trying to F them up or whatever. And then
Yeah.
it's like, okay, they let you into their home now. But yeah, they don't. I feel like social media makes it so you don't have to do that anymore because you just go scroll through Instagram or whatever and you see, whoever like throwing some crazy combo, and then you take a video of yourself doing the same thing and everyone likes it or whatever, and you're like, oh, cool, I got friends now. But it's like, nah, not really. You just have a video that people like looked and were like, okay.
Yeah. And I think people have like their Insta friends that they leave comments on and all this stuff. But then when they go into real life, they're like, oh, hey. Like,
Yeah.
It's like they're like they're like on social media, they're super social, but in real life they're antisocial. Yeah. I think that's like I feel like that's not just dancers, that's just like this whole generation. They're like antisocial social media people.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, no, like I think that's one of the reasons why I stopped using social media a lot, because I just saw that it's not healthy for you to like.
I think it's kind of hilarious too, because they'll be like, you'll see them in real life, and they're just like not talking to anybody. Yeah, and they bust out their they're like, "Hey guys, what's going on?"
I think it's so funny to see like people with their cameras like up in front of their face, like walking around, like talking and stuff.
Yeah,
like that is like the weirdest shit ever.
One time we went kayaking in Folsom, the Sac State one, and like when we got there was these two girls like taking pictures on a paddleboard, and like we went off on our kayaks for like 2 hours. Yeah, and we came back and they're still taking pictures on the kayak. I'm like, dang. You guys are really like trying to show that you're enjoying yourselves on these paddle boards, but not actually enjoying yourself in real life.
Yeah, no, I think when you're thinking so much about what people, how many like internet cool points you're gonna get, for like what you just did, you forget to have fun doing the thing that you're doing, because you're like, your fun is now associated with how many people like what you just did. And so for me, I was like, first of all, I don't really care what those people think about me in the first place. So like, why am I even telling them online? Because I don't care. Like the people who I actually care about already know that I'm over here. So whatever. And I don't care if they like that I'm over here or not anyway. So it's just like, just go have fun. That's why I'm always like the last person to take out a camera to like take a picture. My wife Keiko always like, whenever we go on trips, we bring our camera to take pictures, and both of us always forget to like pull it out to actually take pictures, because we just are like having so much fun doing the stuff that we're like, oh yeah, I forgot to take the camera out.
It's like, I think like if you're a social media influencer or / I don't know, dancer, social media influencer, you just have to have a balance. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like if you're at practice, like filming everything, are you really going to have a productive practice? Like, like live streaming it, like talking to your followers, like, man, it's like impossible.
The filming thing is so weird now with breaking, when like, cause you go to a practice now and everybody's like got their camera filming themselves. And not that that's necessarily like a bad thing. I think it's good to like look at what you're doing and give yourself feedback. But it's weird for me to see that, because when we started and you brought a camera to practice, people would like give you the stink eye, like, oh, this dude's trying to bite off of stuff. Some people would even fight you for it, like, because it's just like it asks for drama. At least from
I remember we got like we had like beef with some dude because he like was like off in the corner filming, and everyone was just like, "Yo, who's this guy?" Like,
yeah.
Like, who take his camera away or something?
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of stuff happen like that back when. I mean, it was really before like YouTube really was there, but it was like if you brought a camera to practice, people like already didn't trust you. Yeah. And so it's just weird to see that nowadays, and I haven't really adjusted to that.
That's actually why like I remember like there's like all these people that are like, "Oh, why don't you like film your practices or post your practices?" I'm like, "Cuz I don't want people to see my stuff."
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like I know it's like an old school mentality, but it's like, yeah, like I want someone to like see my stuff in person, like when they see it. Like I don't want someone to like see it like not completed online. It's like if I was like an artist like showing all my like crappy sketches before I like sell my final art piece.
Yeah.
Which I guess it's cool in a sense, but like if you do like maybe you made a progression video, sure. But if you're sharing like everything, like I don't want people to see that. Like,
yeah, I mean there's some novelty to seeing the process, but I don't think you got to show the process every single time.
Yeah,
and
like maybe I would show like the only thing I would say is like if you're learning like a power move or like something along those lines, then sure, it's just a move. But I'm not trying to show people like my creative process.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to show them unfinished like creative.
Yeah, the unfinished stuff is like that's what I have a problem with. Is like because first of all, like you might be working on something and then someone sees it and then they're like, "Oh, cool, I'm gonna take that," because the biters are out there.
Yeah, and if you do it, then you literally can't get mad if someone bites it because it's like you're fishing for bites.
Yeah, and when it's unfinished at that point, it's kind of like you can see where the move is going, but you don't have it yet. So then who's maybe more talented sees it and they're like, "Oh, I can do that today," and then they just. Now that's their move probably, and it's probably your fault that it's their move.
And then you did it at a jam, and then people are calling you a biter for the move that they
for
did.
The move you made up. They stole it. I mean, fuck those people who bid it, but also like have some respect for yourself by not like posting it because you gotta hold something a little bit dear.
Yeah, pick and choose what you're gonna post because if it's unfinished, then go back to the drawing board and finish it.
Yeah, for sure. So the next thing I wanted to ask you was like, what is the funniest thing you've ever seen in one of your classes?
I don't know. Funniest? I mean, there's a lot of funny moments. Like I work with third graders.
Just because kids are like funny.
They do funny stuff like, man, it's hard to say. I mean, a lot because it's cool because like a lot of these schools I'm there the whole day, so I really get to know them. I'm like I'll eat lunch with them and all this stuff, and I remember like it was some kid's birthday, and most of the kids I work with right now are all of Mexican descent. So instead of like cupcakes, they brought conchas, which is like it's a Mexican pastry with it's like a bread with like. It has like some sugary stuff on top.
Yeah.
And then, like I know what a concha is, but like this kid was like, "Oh, you want a concha for my birthday?" And then this kid like popped up out of nowhere. I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And this kid popped up out of nowhere, and he's like, "It's a concha, a Mexican pastry that's so delicious and fluffy and just melts in your mouth." And I was just like, "Where did this kid come from?" But it's just like you get a lot of spontaneous moments like that.
Dang, he was just like
he's like the spokesperson for conchas.
Yeah, he was like putting on an advertisement for him. It'd be funny if he had a shirt that had some like Jose's like bakery or something.
Yeah, but yeah, I get a lot of like moments like that where kids are just like say random funny things.
I know you posted this video that I saw that I thought was like the funniest crap ever, where there was this kid. I think you asked them like, what are the 4 elements of hip hop? And like, you know, it's like, oh, MCs, DJ, breakdance, and then the kid's like, oh, airflare.
And I knew that I like when I asked that, I knew that kid would say that too, because like that kid like I think he must have like an older cousin or brother that knows how to do air flares.
Yeah.
So like everything we learned, he would do random moves, and he would like say, "Oh, did you like my air flares?" And I'm like, "You didn't. You just did a coffee grinder, man. Like it's not an air flare."
Oh, it's an air flare. It was like funny because like in the video, he like visually like actually looks like he's thinking because he goes, air flare. I'm like, oh, he actually put some thought into this.
Yeah, that kid was,
and it wasn't just a joke.
That kid was all about air flares.
Can he air flare yet?
I don't think. No, he could actually do the start of the air flare.
Oh, okay.
But then it would be like the start of the air flare, and then he'd be like, "Oh, that's a." He like thought that was an air flare.
Oh,
so
he's on his way then. There's so many little kids that can like do some crazy stuff now.
No, yeah, in like Sacramento, in South Sac, like you'd see like 6th graders that could almost do air flares. Is like crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I see some videos online sometimes of like these, I don't know, 10-year-olds or whatever, and they're like literally flying.
Yeah,
like, you know, they're doing one-handed air flares and like, you know, I don't know, some stuff that I don't know back in like the early 2000s. No one could do.
Yeah.
And now it's, I don't know. I look at it kind of like how in skateboarding when Tony Hawk did the 900. I forget what year that was, but like it blew the scene up, and everyone was like, "Dude, he just did a 900. It's like the craziest thing ever."
Yeah.
And like nowadays, if you watch little kids skateboarding, there's like 10-year-olds doing a 1080, which is an extra half turn.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, these kids just like shitted on Tony Hawk.
Yeah, especially if you look on YouTube, there's like some crazy like little kids doing like legit combos.
Yeah.
That like adults can't even do.
Yeah, and I think it's probably because their parents maybe were like hip hoppers or even B-boys, B-girls, and just got them into the scene really young, and they already knew what was up, so they're like, hey, now that you're 3, we're gonna teach you how to air flare.
Yeah.
And now they're literally flying.
Yeah, I think they had the right mentor that taught them some crazy stuff
at the young age. Yeah, whereas like people from our generation, I don't think, I mean, unless you were the son or daughter of like someone from, I don't know, Rocksteady Crew or whatever, right. But most of us learned when we were like a teenager or whatever.
Yeah, most people like just learn from like people you meet or or just like influences from like your practices or a jam or something like that.
Yeah. So I see like the future where this is like a thing that you're gonna have like legit athletes like out there doing stuff, and actually now that breaking is going into the Olympics in 2024, I think we're at a place where breaking is gonna be I don't know, like we're in a transition period where we might see some kind of crazy changes in it because it's now becoming like more mainstream, and definitely everyone's getting ready for the Olympics, and obviously the skill is there.
Yeah.
And like, what do you think about that whole thing with the Olympics?
I mean, I think it's like a scary point in like breaking history because we don't know like where it's gonna go. We have a lot of good people that are like pushing it in the right direction, but you never know. It's like when Red Bull BC1 came out, that there was like some controversy. People are like, "Yo, what is this?" We have a bunch of b-boys dancing to random music that some DJ put on top of it. Like, it was like, so like I think it's like it's a scary point. Like it could I think it could definitely be really positive and go in a good direction, but it's also like negatives where like people are like, oh, it might everyone's gonna become like a crazy powerhead and people are gonna forget about top rocks and footwork. So it's definitely like it's a scary point because we don't as a culture, like we don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
So I think it's for me. I think it's like there's a ton of people online that are gonna talk and like have all these intimate conversations, but I think there's only a handful of people that are gonna actually like take action to like push it in the right direction, because it's gonna happen. Like it's in the works. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's on us. Like everybody as a dancer, whether you just started or you've been dancing for 50 years, whatever it is, like it's on us to like steer it in the right direction. Yeah. Because essentially we are the culture. Like the second you step foot in a jam, you're a part of the culture.
I look at it like it's going to go that way whether you like it or not, and so you need to do something about it, which I guess like in a way it's kind of like when YouTube first came around. Like it was going to happen that breaking was going to show up on YouTube, so it's like either you're going to be a part of the progression of it or not, and let it do whatever it's going to do. And so and you obviously like put on, that was part of the reason you started doing classes online and stuff. But so like with the Olympics, I think I personally think it's a really good idea for it to be in the Olympics, just because it's gonna like show the culture to a lot more people. I mean, I guess I see people's concern where it's like, oh, it's gonna like take away from the art and whatever, and like I think that is a concern, but I think the best way to handle it is to go, okay, let's talk about how to preserve the art while doing this, because it's a good opportunity that you don't want to just look over and say, F that, we're not going to be a part of that. Take the opportunity, because it gets the culture out to more people, and I think that's a good thing. So
I think it's crazy to even think about, because like if you think about like 20 years ago, like the biggest breaking competition happened at a rundown community center. Like I think like even freestyle session, like it wasn't in like a glamorous like venue. It was just like a random place.
It's on a dirty like hallway floor or whatever, and like
So like I mean, if you think about like how breaking competitions were 20 years ago to now, like wow, it's gonna be on the Olympic platform. Like it's like that was like a dream 20 years ago. Now it's like actually reality. So it's kind of crazy, like thinking that progression.
I personally think that breaking, like it's a good opportunity, but also it's come so quickly that the scene, I don't think, has had a chance to stop and think and be like, oh, we're not quite ready for this. We need to get our act together. And luckily we have about 4 years to like figure it all out. But like, I think we all really need to take some sort of action to make sure that we are preserving the art that we all help build. Which is partially what this podcast is about.
I think that's like what most people's concern is like protecting the culture. Because like, for us, like this is like, for some people or most dancers, this is everything to them. So like, this is not just like something you do on your weekends. It's like, this is your life. So when that gets like, when there's like some type of platform or something that could damage that, that's why people are so passionate about it. So there's no question that people care about hip hop culture. It's just like steering it in the right direction.
I think, people who don't know anything about hip hop and breaking, they're going to see it on a big stage and then go, oh, that's cool, I want to know more about it. And if the narrative from that point is being controlled by someone else, you're basically putting it in their hands to like tell the story you want them to be told. And so I think the better way to do it is like embrace the Olympics, let them in, say, hey, this is a culture that we love sharing stuff with, so please come in. We got a lot to show you. There's a lot of history to catch you up on, and like I hope that you find this as interesting as we do. Here it is. Here's all this the resources if you want to go into it, and this is like what we love and why we love doing it. And so I think embracing that and letting it go with it, and then just having more and more people sharing their stories so that we shape hip hop and breaking the way we want it to. Because it's coming no matter what. So we can't like run away from it.
So I think it's just about like just putting it, like obviously putting it in the right hands, which is our hands, but making sure that it's reflected in the right light.
For sure. So the next thing I wanted to ask you about is like, what do you think about music today?
Like for breaking or just in general?
I think hip hop music. Like the thing that comes to mind is like mumble rap and stuff like that.
It's like, it's funny because like, just as dancers, like when we were younger, most people got into breaking because they were into hip hop.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I don't know. It's like you see kids that are into breaking and they're into mumble rap, and it's like, I don't like it. It's coming from like the hip hop perspective. It's weird because it's like mumble rap and breaking. Like
yeah.
Like it doesn't. It's kind of like if you were to say back in the day, like, oh yeah, I got influenced to be a b-boy because I listened to Cash Money Millionaires. It's like,
shout out to Cash Money.
Like I listened to Warden and Juvenile, and now I'm a b-boy.
Yeah.
Like there was no like connection. Like of course I listened to Cash Money Millionaires, but that's not why I got into breaking.
Yeah, for sure. I think that they're like kind of different entities a little bit. I mean, they're all under the umbrella of hip hop, but I feel like the umbrella of hip hop is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so you have this community of people that are breaking, which are just like, one little piece of that. And now you got like 90s hip hop, you got now like mumble rap, and you got other things. And I almost think that mumble rap, it had to happen because like overall, I think hip hop is like kind of a counterculture type of thing.
Yeah.
And so like, if you're doing it right, you want to do something different than everyone else. And so like, I think when these rappers came in, they're like, oh yeah, I want to do something different than what I've seen everyone else do. And then they started mumbling, and you can probably argue if that was a good idea or a bad idea or whatever, but like they were doing what hip hoppers have always done, which is do something different than the people you're inspired by and push that along. So like I look at it as like, that really is hip hop, but it's maybe something you don't necessarily resonate with.
Yeah.
I personally have grown a lot of attraction for it because at first I heard it and I was like, I don't know about this crap. And then the more and more I listened to it, the more and more I associated it with like punk rock. How punk rock is like kind of a counterculture. They would like scream, they do like, bang their instruments and stuff, and like they wanted to do something different than the rock and roll before them, which was like AC/DC and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, let's do the craziest stuff. Let's yell out some intangible stuff.
Right.
I feel like that's what these rappers did too. They're like, let's mumble some inaudible or whatever,
Yeah.
And so then they made music out of that. I don't know.
I think it's just like, it's definitely a different generation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting, like to see the connection. I wonder if there is b-boys that were like, oh, I listened to Lil Pump and now I'm a b-boy.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It seems to me it's probably hard to break to Lil Pump, but I don't know. Maybe you could probably do it. I mean, it's dance, so like you could probably find a way to do it.
I think it's probably because like back in the day, like you were influenced by like simply just the music. Like you heard a new song, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go break. But now it's like you get your influences from all over, like YouTube, online, movies. Like there's so much more information out there that I guess people get their influences differently than back in the day.
Yeah, which I think is cool because it's nice to see all these different influences coming into the scene. Because now it's going to take everything in different directions and help it progress to something, maybe somewhere that we never thought it would ever go. I mean, if you really think about it, people like from Crazy Legs or like the other Rocksteady guys, generations, they probably had no idea there was people that were going to be like hopping on one hand, spinning around, doing some crazy power moves. They probably had no idea it was going to go that direction. But then like, that's the way it progressed, and now you see that's like those are elements of breaking now.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's like it's crazy when you look at like breaking from like 70s and 80s till now. It's like each year like there's something new. There's something like people are taking to the next level, and something that like was like crazy to think of, now being like a basic.
Yeah. Definitely. So we've been going for a little bit over an hour. We should probably close the show out soon. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about was like some things that you are like interested in outside of like the hip hop world and breaking world. I know that you're like big into food culture and stuff.
Like just random interests.
Yeah, just random interests.
I mean, I'm really definitely into like just food, like eating, not just like I guess it's another counterculture thing, but there's like this whole like foodie scene that's like hella whack, and like they all like if you guys look up or if you even type in #foodie, you'll see like all these people that go to the same places and like go off all the hype. So I'm very into like finding my own restaurants and finding stuff that's actually, and I actually do try the stuff that people are hyped about, and then I'll like find something that's better. So through the years I've gotten really into just like trying different foods and discovering new foods, and actually like I guess you could say being a true food lover versus like a food hyper. But then also at the same time, because of that, it got me into cooking.
Oh, okay.
So like, for example, like I really like Indian food, so I got into like learning how to cook Indian food and learning basics. I'm still learning, but it's like I think my love for food got me into cooking and being able to duplicate it and make it better.
Yeah, food to me seems like, and cooking especially seems like it's a very creative endeavor too. So I imagine the creativity involved in like breaking and stuff kind of translates to cooking pretty well.
Yeah, because I think also like process is so important. Just like process in breaking is important. Like you could just throw all the ingredients into a pot, and
which is how I cook.
Yeah, and it'll taste like crap.
Yeah.
Just like, you could just throw all your breaking moves into a pot. It's gonna look like crap. But if you process it correctly, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. No, it takes you on like a journey.
Yeah, you develop flavors that you didn't realize could be there.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing versus like, you just do a bunch of moves. It could just look like your typical B-boy, but if you process it the right way, you develop the flavor. You become a flavorful B-boy or B-girl.
Dope. And I think that's a good way to end the show. So, yeah, cook your moves well, season it, use some salt.
Yeah, don't bring no bland potato salad to the barbecue.
Yeah, Lisa, come on.
Lisa and Karen.
We don't need your raisins in our potato salad. Come on, man. Put that mayo in it. So before we close the show, is there any last minute shout outs or like plugs you want to put out there?
Shout out to Regent Coffee for funding this coffee.
Yeah, for funding this
from
coffee.
my wallet.
But also use plastic straws, yo. And hopefully your avocado toast is good. I've never had avocado toast before, but we'll see if it's good.
Get ask Karen.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
You could Google search or YouTube search VincanitTV, or if you just type in how to breakdance, how to b-boy, or something like that, it'll pop up there. Or you can find me on Instagram at BBoy Vincanity.
Dope. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I think this has been a very good episode, and it's been good talking to you. Let's do one little ow for the ending. 1, 2, 3. Ow!
Outro.
Outro. Thanks for listening. See you guys. Peace.